Unbelievably, we have come to DEPHEMEREMBER day 20. I'm so happy about how chunky this journal is getting. I love it. I hope yours is getting chunky as well. This is today's paper bag. This is one of the ones I really like. Let's see which animal we have today. We have this cute little mouse. And our snack today is from Bulgaria. It looks like it's a lollipop. Kind of looks like a hamburger. Very interesting. So let's try this. Nah, it's like pure sugar. There's no fruity taste or anything. It's just sweet. Breaks my heart. I feel really bad, but I can't give this more than a 2. Let's check our prompts for today. So today, number 20, we have grunge and a snippet strip. Perfect. 2 things I love. Snippet strips, of course, are very versatile to use in your journal. And they're a great way to use up some scraps. So let's go ahead and make a snippet strip. So I took out my box of neutral scraps and I'll be pulling some scraps from here to use. So this is packaging paper, this is vintage wallpaper, some book pages in different languages. This I think I won't use. There's some ledger here, music sheet, more book page, more wallpaper. I think that is plenty. My favorite way to make a snippet roll or snippet strip is by using masking tape or painter's tape as a base, because that way you don't have to glue. But if you don't have any masking tape, then you can just use a strip of paper, but this is definitely the quickest method. So I'll take a strip and I'll leave it on the roll so that I can make it as long as I want. I'll make a strip that's longer than I need because it's always good to have these on hand. So I'm just going to tear my pieces and start sticking it on the roll. I'm paying attention that I don't have papers next to each other that are the same. You can make your pieces as big or as small as you want. And you just keep layering your pieces. This is something to do when you maybe are not so motivated to do any crafting in your journal. This is something you could probably do next to watching something on TV or on Netflix. I find this really relaxing. I have one here which covers this tiny piece here of my painter's tape, but this I'm going to glue down because it's not sticking well enough on its own. Usually I would not bother, but I don't think I'm going to sew over this because usually I would sew over this with my machine, but for today I won't do that. So I want to make sure that all my parts stick. So wherever I feel they're not sticking enough, I will add glue. I find it really hard to stop once you start. It's also a little bit like making a puzzle. Okay, I'm good with this. So I'll tear this off. Let's just cover this part here. And one more at the end that I will glue on. So we have a snippet roll that took like about 2 minutes to make. And since I see this cheesecloth on my desk, I want to use some of that as well. So I'll just cut it in smaller pieces and then we'll just stick it in between some of the paper scraps. We should glue them in. So now I have this, which already looks fun. But of course we need the grunge. And keeping our little mouse in mind, I was thinking, what do I think of when I think of a mouse? And probably the first thing that comes to mind is cheese. So let's try to make our snippet roll resemble cheese, which again means we can make holes like we did with the moth. I think holes are always fun. So maybe we should first think about how to add this to our journal. I think I'm going to make a belly band with this snippet strip, which is probably the most logical thing to do. But I can of course make my belly band either horizontal or vertical. Vertical would be great because I can use more of it. But I also want to think about the placement of my mouse because I want her on the cheese. Well, she could go either way. So I'll make a vertical belly band. So let's just check the size. Doesn't matter which page. I can then just snip off or tear off here the top, for example. Or I could actually have also just left it sticking out. Why not? Like that. And then I'll tear it down here. So this is my piece. So let's try to make a few holes. We could of course also just take a hole punch, but I want them to look grungy. So I'm going to stab through it from the back and make the hole bigger. And then just try to stab through a few more times so that we get a more visible hole. Maybe tear a bit out. We can also use our scissors a little bit to help. So there's one hole, and I'm going to continue making holes throughout this strip, making sure they're not all in one line. So the next one I could put here, for example. So I have 5 holes, and since I want it to look like cheese, I want to make it yellow. I'm going to try this with my fossilized amber distress oxide. If you don't have ink pads in the color you want, please use either watercolor or acrylic paint, maybe thinned down a little bit. Again, please use what you have. I'm going to just go over this. You could of course also use spray. I have this spray here as well, but I thought I would just try the ink pad. So let's spray that with some water. Let's let it run a little bit. And then we'll dry this. So after the drying, we see all the beautiful oxidization that has happened. Just gorgeous. And since we want grunge, I'm also going to add, should I add vintage photo or walnut stain? I think I'll take a vintage photo. And this time I'm going to concentrate around the holes. So I'll just rub more or less the tips of those papers that we bent backwards. And I also want to go around and where I can, maybe the edges of the paper scraps. And if you've gotten some of the other color on your oxide pad, as long as it's oxide to oxide, I have learned, it's fine. But do not mix the inks with the oxides. You can just clean it with a paper towel. All good. So then I'll spray just a little more water, not as much as I did before. Concentrating on those areas where I added the vintage photo. I'll massage it in a little bit as well, just to get a little color variation with the vintage photo. Okay, and again we'll dry this. This is what we have when it's dry, so I'd say that is nice and grungy. And to define the edges a little bit more, I'm going to ink those up with walnut stain. Then I'm going to try to grunge it up further by using some walnut stain distress glaze by spritzing very small amounts of water so that I just get more or less some droplets. So I'm not pressing the handle all the way. There's a few really big splots there. So I'm soaking up some of the puddles with paper towel, otherwise that's going to take forever to melt. Let's add the glaze. Whoa, there's a lot here. I don't think I want that. The rest is fine. I think it's very tricky to get the right amount of water on your project to make the embossing glaze work. So some of it blew away again. Some of it stayed. Some of it just stained it brown but didn't actually glaze. So this is very interesting. And then I also want to add some stamping. I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Field Notes stamps. I will link that set for you below. And I think I'm going to stick mostly to numbers. And I'll use my jet black StazOn ink for that. And I'm looking for like partial stamps. Numbers somehow make all the projects look fabulous in my eyes. I don't clean my stamps before I put them back, but I do stamp them on another paper or kitchen towel until all the ink is gone. I think that's enough. I think it would look cool if we would have black underneath the holes. Yeah, I really like that look. I think I'll just cut a few pieces. Yeah, so let's glue around the holes. And then add our paper on top. Next, I'm going to cut out this cute little mouse. I've inked her up. I've also cut out this here with a craft knife and here. But it's fine if you don't, they're not huge areas. So I want to place her in the middle of my belly band. But I also feel like I want to give her a little piece of cheese into her paws. Let's see if I can draw a piece of cheese. This is my 200 GSM cardstock. So I want like this, like just a wedge. And then holes. Very simple. And we need to color that. I'll use my water-soluble Neon Color 2 wax pastels by Caran d'Ache and a water brush. So I'll go over the whole thing first with the yellow. Then I'll add some orange to the holes to make them a bit darker. Dry that again. And maybe also blend in a little bit of that orange from the edges. Then I'll outline it in black. It's always tricky drawing on top of wax pastels. Let's cut it out. The tiniest piece of cheese. How do we add this? I'm going to cut in between her two paws. Okay, let's glue that. I'm going to miss these prompts. I'm having so much fun. I hope you are too. Cheese is firmly secured. We have a happy mouse. And I want to attach her with some foam tape. So I'm just going to add these little foam pieces all over. So let's add it to our journal. I've already picked out a page, which is this one. I think this is great on here. So let's glue it on the top and the bottom. And then I think it needs some splattering, some black splatters. I have my black thinned down acrylic paint in here. Just going to cover this part with my finger. I'm still really loving this, by the way, and the feathers here. I have a feeling that was a quick one again today. Nothing wrong with that. So 20. So we have our grungy, holy, cheesy snippet strip with a mouse. And this little piece of cheese makes me at least as happy as the mouse, I think. See you back here tomorrow. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.